they ready? Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of CTA negotiations. So I think we'll turn it over to CTA to propose for their counter proposal.
All right, thank you all very much. We're going to pass around a packet that encompasses language changes, and then at the end, we'll get to the salary and compensation. Thank you. Give you a second to get that. All right. So I will draw your attention to the packet and briefly describe each of the proposals. So please follow along. First, you have the initial bargaining session document. It lists the items 1, 2, and 3 under salary are going to come at the back end of our presentation. And you will also notice that the preamble is listed but not included because we are going to adopt your preamble, which you presented yesterday. So if you turn to the second page of the packet, our first proposal as part of an amendment to Appendix B is a request for an increase from $25 to $35 per period for the 6-period supplement. This is a item that we brought a number of times in the past, and on our annual negotiation surveys to our membership has been one of the most common requested items, just to try to bring that rate more commensurate to some of the increased rates that have been implemented over the past year or two, as well as closer to some of our employees' hourly rates, which are significantly higher than the existing $25 6-period supplement rate. So that is our first proposal. The next few proposals are relative to some of the joint committees that both the district and CTA met with over the past semester last spring. The first one is Article 3, Section B. This came about from the start of day, end of day committee to look into practices most predominantly at the elementary school level. We were looking at planning time as it related to the beginning and the end of the day, and based on feedback from surveys from our members, some of them pointed out what they viewed as was a discrepancy between the existing language, where if you have your planning at elementary and they have 2 choices at the end of the day, you get 45 minutes of planning, but if you split your planning into 2 chunks, you get 60 total minutes of planning in 2 30-minute increments. What we are proposing through the amended language in this elementary planning provision is just that to even the amount of planning time, whether you take it into 30-minute increments or under our proposed language, a 15-minute increment in the morning, which is undedicated time as it stands from 7:30 to 7:45, and then the 2:15 to 3 p.m. Standard planning at the end of the day. So that is the proposal for elementary planning that came out of our discussions with our members for start and end of day recommendations. The next proposal, the district had submitted a version of their own yesterday. Ours is similar, but we are requesting that the amount of relief time be quantified as a minimum of 30 minutes. I believe the district's proposal yesterday was a 20-minute dedicated relief time. And for people who are paying attention to these videos, the issue kind of grew about from the fact that it was not defined as a specific period of time. So I think our side and our members were looking for some tangible number of minutes that they could rely on if they ever felt like they were not getting enough relief time, and our proposal is 30 minutes. To the next page, another amendment to the supplements in Appendix B. These recommendations came out of our experience in the School Counselors Committee and by virtue of surveys of school counselors, both conducted by CTA and the Palm Beach School Counselors Association as well. The two recommendations for this particular request are that a 504 coordinator stipend be created or supplement be created in the amount of $2,000. Traditionally, from the feedback we've received from school counselors, this is something that is assigned to them, someone on the campus. It comes with no compensation, but it is an additional duty or activity that is serious and requires a significant amount of time. The second supplement request that came out of our experience with the school counselor committee was for the school-based team coordinator to also receive a supplement, and we have put forth a proposal for $2,000 for the efforts undertaken by the individual that would be assigned to that. I believe yesterday the district similarly put forth a proposal to create a stipend for this position in the amount of $1,000. The next proposal, still on the school counselors, is to strike the language for the school counselor committee that met this past spring, but move in the direction that the district had mentioned at the last meeting. The district had said that they were interested potentially in conducting a 2-year analytical study of school counselor duties and responsibilities on campus to determine if their time was being best utilized or if there were compromises to their ability to perform their core functions, which is how school counselors have described their perspective to us. The district in that committee meeting made reference to holding a 2-year study to analyze various aspects of school counselors. Our proposal would be that the parties agree to conduct a 1-year study starting on January 1st of 2024, this January, to that same effect, to try to get quantitative and qualitative data to better analyze if and what types of changes to the duties and responsibilities of school counselors might be beneficial and better enable them to perform their core function. There's also a final sentence on this proposal as well. In the surveys and some of the information conveyed to us by the School Counselors Association, it was made clear to us that I guess that they are very concerned about being properly referenced as school counselors versus guidance counselors, which it's been conveyed to us is a dated term. And we just wanted to request in this proposal as well that as a part of that joint study committee that we review content throughout the district that makes reference to school counselors as guidance counselors and be sure to update that accordingly. On to the additional 4 items that each side is allowed to potentially put forward in this year's negotiations. Article 3, Section A, Item 1, contract year. The district has done, to their testament, great things as far as ensuring that preschool language in the contract is adhered to, so credit given where it is due. But our teachers have still indicated that coming off of the summer break, that one full day of uninterrupted time to plan and get their room set up and prepare for school to start is not enough in their opinion. So we are requesting that the language be amended in this particular provision to state at least 2 full days of preschool shall be without scheduled meetings for employees, as opposed to the current language, which dedicates just 1 day of uninterrupted planning. The next item is Article 3, Section C, Item 5, Professional Qualifications and Assignments. More specifically, the provision that speaks to if you are employed by the district for a minimum number of years and have been teaching or not teaching a subject over a period of time and you are assigned to teach that subject as your tentative assignment, the voluntary transfer window is extended because you might have taught 3rd grade or social studies for the past, as it's worded in the contract now, 5 years, but now you're being assigned something very different. The current language allows you, after 7 years of employment and 5 years of having not taught those newer subjects, to extend your voluntary transfer. We're looking for more flexibility in that and changing that to after your 5th year of consecutive employment and 4 years of not having been previously assigned a subject, that would trigger the ability to enter into voluntary transfer if you're able to find a position at a different school with a subject or a grade level that is more suited to your liking. We also request in this proposal to extend the time of that extended voluntary transfer from July 1st to July 14th as well. So we're just looking for increased flexibility. There has been a rise in teachers being given new assignments that they have never had before, or even teachers being interviewed and hired in the summer through the normal voluntary transfer window, then finding out right before school that they actually were hired for a position, but being assigned different courses or different grade levels than they thought they were interviewing for. So we feel like this flexibility helps address the changing shape of course assignments and grade level assignments, which has become way more fluid than it was in the past, based on our experience. Our next proposal is from Article 8, Section M, and it deals with advanced degree pay. We are just looking specifically to strip the local language stricken out in red in your document that states the district shall not recognize advanced degree pay for bargaining unit employees for the following advanced degrees, specifically at leadership, administration, supervision, administration, and school principal. This is something that went into the contract back in 2011 or so. At that time, the legislature had changed the laws governing advanced degree pay and what advanced degrees could be allowed to receive compensation moving forward from that point in time. Over time, we've come to the realization that the language that was negotiated back then went above and beyond what the law changed, and in fact restricts a number of degrees that other districts have still been paying their employees for obtaining, specifically surrounding ed leadership and moving into administration, or learning and getting your degree to potentially move into administration. This is one of the biggest requested changes in terms of the contract that a number of employees have put forward, because we have a significant number of employees, I think, who have obtained ed leadership degrees and degrees of that nature that are prohibited here but not in law. And they just they feel, and we agree, that those degrees, even if you don't move into administration at that time, certainly enhance an employee's value to their school center by being knowledgeable of school operations and being able to be of more assistance to their leadership by virtue of having trained and been educated in that area. So we are looking just to kind of reduce the language in this provision so that it is what is legally restricted, not what is locally restricted. And then the last proposal from the packet, it's labeled Appendix XX because we know that some of the appendixes will be coming and going out, so it will be whatever it is in the normal flow of the alphas. But this is just a request to have convened an ESE differentiated pay joint study committee. It's something that the district agreed to create a differentiated pay for ESE last year, giving consideration to the harder ability to hire and staff these positions, the attrition rates, the demands and the needs of the schools have only grown as student populations under these categories have increased. And it is a job that just, there's no amount of compensation that can adequately pay individuals who take on the challenge that is teaching students in these various categories because of how much more attention and speciality it requires. So we are looking at expanding on the existing ESE differentiated pay supplement by identifying particularly hard to staff ESE positions, not just standard ESE as identified in some of the job titles in the last agreement, but trying to go more granular to find those hardest hit or hardest to staff positions and then possibly offering them additional differentiated pay to either get existing ESE teachers who are qualified to move into those positions or to attract and retain additional staff from the outside. And that is, before we get to salary proposal, that is our kind of language package. Does anyone have any questions on any of the proposals as presented so far?
No.
Okay. And then our salary proposal. Pass that around if you give it 1 minute. So the paper you just received, it technically includes 3 components, but I'll point your attention to the first page that has 2 components. The first one is the evaluation-based raises. The data that you see before you mirrors your proposal from yesterday, and below it, to the comments that we made towards the end of the meeting, is our effort to try to address the longstanding challenge relative to veteran salary compression, given the fact that there are funds available this year and that the legislature and governor have indicated that for the first time, those funds do not come with a number of restrictions that made it impossible to target veteran compression in the past. So it's a straightforward proposal as it relates to the teacher salary increase allocation funds. The state has removed restrictions for negotiations. The intent of that is to address veteran salary compression as stated by the governor, the Department of Education, as well as many legislators when they waive some of these rules for the year. And our proposal as it relates to those funds are to allocate an additional 2.5% base salary increase for employees who were most impacted by compression in a series of events over the past decade. That would be the professional service contract employees who are also at this point in time now getting pinched by the new legislation that says that they receive 25% less in their raises by virtue of being tenured employees under a PSC contract. We understand that the proposal that you made yesterday with the addition of the TSIA funds for veterans could lead to an increase in costs. We are open-minded to hearing if there are other ways to move things around. So we look forward to hearing the district's response when appropriate. And then if you flip to the back page, we put this on here just as an effort, understanding that some of the rules have been waived, but not knowing definitively if this is possible, but we wanted to put it on the table, is that a number of years ago, 2 years ago, when that 25% annual versus PSC law went into place, we were able to, at the time, utilize a supplement to try to fill that gap so that those most veteran teachers who are on a PSC contract or grandfathered would not be as adversely affected by that 25% penalty that came into law. That created a supplement for them that you can see here, and we are just simply requesting, if it is determined to be legal, to roll those funds into their base salaries as opposed to keeping them segregated while the rules may or may not be waived for this retroactive activity. And that concludes our presentation of language and salary-related requests at this time.
Thank you. So one thing I can weigh in on, and we're going to caucus and go through all the other items, but the one thing I can at least weigh in right now is the supplements that we did a couple years ago for the grandfathered salary schedule, that by law we can't convert that over to salary. Basically, that would just be a way to bypass the law that is existing to throw it out as a supplement 1 year and then the next year or later, convert it to base pay. So we wouldn't be able to do that. We're going to need to caucus to go through this and then come back to you on that. Since we do have some people on here, if possible, Caitlin, what room do we have? B over here. So if you don't mind going to room B, that way they can still participate in the call.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Sorry to make you guys wait so long. There's a lot to unpack here, a lot to go through. So we've reviewed all of your proposals and we talked through it as a group. In anything that had to do with new money, additional money, increasing supplements, increasing, the extra period, adding the 504, we're not at a point where we have additional money to put down on the table here. For the Joint Study Committee on the counselors, we went through a lot in our Joint Study Committee this past year. We don't know that there's really much more we can do there. We're fine with going through to see where it says guidance counselor and try to find those areas where that's listed and change it to certified school counselor. That doesn't bother us at all. That of course we commit to that. But this study committee, we just don't see that there's anywhere to go. And if we did, then we would, but we just don't. On all the other items though, we're at status quo. And in terms of the salary increases, we really think our offer is a great offer. It's the best offer that any of us have probably ever seen since working for the district. It's a huge offer. It's $92 million, which really Heather had to work really hard to try to come up with that. And the board, the superintendent, we had to really go out there and there's risks associated with going to an increase like that. These are the largest increases we've ever proposed. And so this is the amount, that's the amount we have. We don't have more money to put down on the table here, to give the grandfathered teachers 2.5% on top of what they were already what they would be getting, what we are putting into this package. I would love to say that we do. I'd love to say that we can do this. I understand what you've been trying to do, and I really wish that there was a way that we could put that together. But if we're going to shift more money, if it's your position that you need to shift more money to the grandfathered scheduled teachers, it's got to come from somewhere else. We just don't have any more money to put down on this. So I know it's why it wasn't a quick meeting. It wasn't a decision that we made lightly. We really ran through this and really talked about what we can do. And this is an amazing deal that benefits all. If grandfathered teachers want to earn more money, they can shift to the performance schedule. As we've talked about, we have 29 non-reappointments last year. 29. We have 12,600 teachers. That's what 0.2%, I think it was, of our teachers are non-reappointed. And so the thought, the misconception, the bad information that they might have that, oh, if I switch to the performance schedule, I'm gone. That's sad. That really is sad, because that's not the case. We have put together so many more efforts to provide training to our teachers, to find ways to retain them. So much of our emphasis, and I know this because back in the day when in recruitment, all of our talk was, well, recruit, recruit, recruit. That is so much of that has shifted to retain, and try to find new ways to do that. And we're doing a lot of new initiatives to do that. We put any principal who brings forward a non-reappointment, there's a multi-step process to review that, to make sure that we're not non-reappointing a teacher who should remain employed. That goes through the region offices, that goes through the central office. There's not, I just don't see the risk. May someone, maybe, but overall, 29 non-reappointments, I just don't see the risk of switching over, getting the pay that they should be getting, because I don't, believe that they should get less, but it's statute. That's not our decision. But as far as finding more money to do this, we're just at a position where we can't do that. So I don't know where we go from here, but I don't know if there's if you have any recommendations on how we do that with the existing money, but that's where we need to go.
Is the district open to moving money around within the existing package?
I mean, yes, that's what we're saying. We're willing to listen to something, and as I've mentioned before, we have our own set of priorities as well. We're coming out here and we're trying to put together a great package for our teachers, and all of our teachers need that, I think, right? But we're absolutely willing to listen to anything that you have in mind. It can't be new money on top of this.
Okay. All right. Well, we definitely appreciate the time and effort put into the decisions that you've put forth to us today. We would love the opportunity. I don't think as much as we want to settle today, I think we want to be as deliberative as we can. If we're going to offer a counter proposal that involves any shifts in the current package, I think our next session might be slated for just after Labor Day.
Yes.
So that kind of gives us all enough time. We can tell you that within your proposals, other than the things that we differed on, most of it we welcome, the increases in supplements and the like. So I guess we look forward to September the 5th to hopefully close this down.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.